Hi, my name is Mallory Nicodemus, and I chose the vanilla commodity chain. Over here is what vanilla beans look like when they are still on the vine, but up here is after they've already been cured and processed. So, starting off with the extraction of raw materials, vanilla beans are actually an orchid, and you're taking the stem of that orchid. They are hand pollinated, which is due to globalization because their natural pollinators are the melipona bee. So that means the melipona bee is not actually going to be everywhere that vanilla can be grown. So while the melipona bee is definitely pollinating it in certain areas, overall they're generally hand pollinated. Now, this actually leads to a high level of truancy because the people who are doing the hand pollinations are the ones with tiny hands. So this means people who are very young, maybe high schoolers, but probably even younger, being children. So the truancy rates skyrocket during pollination season, and this is definitely a social problem. Can't be having kids miss school, but on a more environmental level, there is deforestation, and this is due to a rise in the number of plantations necessary. So, deforestation leads to soil erosion and problems for wildlife. Of course, their habitat is being taken away, and greenhouse gases aren't able to be combated by those extra trees and plants. So, there's a rise in the greenhouse gases as well. Now, this is all taking place in Madagascar for the most part. Madagascar produces over 60% of the world's vanilla. So it is the largest vanilla producer in the world. And if you take a look at this map of Madagascar, it's of the agricultural products, so everything that they produce, but vanilla you can see right here is in the little dashes, so it's mostly going to be up here in the northeast side of Madagascar. And then if you look over here, here's where Madagascar is off the coast of Africa and in relation to our world. So in the manufacturing process, you might be surprised to see this picture of cow dung and then moving on to vanilla, which is then moving on to ice cream. Some things that are definitely not likely to be together, but in fact, this is real. Maya Yamamoto from Cambridge, Massachusetts, came up with the experiment that you could actually make vanilla from cow dung. And how this is done is the cow dung is heated and pressurized for 1 hour, and it has a chemical in it called linen. Now, linen is present in plants, and of course, the cows are going to be eating grass, and it's not easily processed, so it's going to end up coming out in their dung. Now, after the linen has been pressurized and heated, that's when it's able to produce vanillin, which is actually the main component of the vanilla bean extract. So the thought behind this was that it would be used in shampoos and candles, but it actually was used in an ice cream store in Cambridge, Massachusetts, which is also where Harvard is. The other aspects of this is that less than half of the price is used in processing the vanilla beans. So you're literally cutting that price in half by getting it out of the dung. And also, it's a kind of a form of recycling because you're taking the dung, taking something out of it. You're also lessening the amount of dung that is in the environment. And then once it's done, once it's used, and you've gotten the linen and the vanillin out of it, then you can put it right back in the ground. There's no chemicals that are going to be harmful. So it can just go right back to the ground, but you're actually making it a bit less, which is cutting down on the greenhouse gases. This specifically is a big problem in Ohio because of all the agriculture we have here, just the extra dung that all of these animals are putting off. So, in taking a look at transportation, according to the Food and Agriculture Administrations of the United Nations, that's where this quote came from. And what they're talking about is actually once the vanilla needs to be picked and taken to the processing facility, they say that boxes should be placed near a path where a vehicle can pick them up and take them to the processing facility. So this is definitely a problem because we all are very familiar with the fact that vehicles are obviously hazardous to the environment with everything that they're putting off, all of those chemicals in the exhaust and things like that. So the problem with this is it kind of goes a little bit deeper in the fact that the exhaust and the chemicals are literally right next to the plants while the people are picking them and putting them in the boxes. So the air pollution in the sulfur dioxide, the ozone, the fluorides that come out of the vehicle, this can all damage the leaves of the plants and it might even eat holes in the leaves. So, going even deeper, if enough leaves are damaged, then the whole plant is going to die. So, we really have to pay attention to the fact that they are so close to the plants too. So even going deeper than the plants dying, that's affecting jobs, which is affecting the economy. So this is really an economic and environmental situation. Now, this is obviously going to be universal. That's universally how it works. So we're looking at the vanilla producing regions where all of this is going to be taking place. So we've got Madagascar, Indonesia, Mexico, Tahiti, Uganda, India, Papua New Guinea, and Costa Rica. So moving on to delivery, there's actually multiple sectors of delivery, but the one we're going to look at is from the country where it's grown to the country where it will be used or resold. Now, how it gets across the waters, it's taken by a ship in these containers. The containers need to be climate controlled and kept dry. So, by the use of these containers, in looking at 22 industrialized countries, the use of containers is responsible for a 790% increase in bilateral trade over the past 20 years. So that is very significant. I mean, this really has globalized our world. This has definitely affected us economically, the entire world, but definitely among the industrialized countries. Just with the ability to trade and transport so much. And if you think about it, the fact that the vanilla needs to be climate controlled and kept dry, if we didn't have these containers, it is possible that we would not have the vanilla that we have today in America, because how would it get here in those forms? That would also most likely cause it to be much more expensive because of the fact that it is so difficult to get. But due to the containers, it's a lot easier. So here are some of the industrialized countries that we're talking about. Definitely those first world countries, the ones, like America, Canada, over in Europe, also out in Australia. So these are the main countries that the study was based off of, but we know that the containers are shipped worldwide. So next we're going to look at the purchase. Now, as I said before, Madagascar is the top producer of vanilla, producing over 60% of the world's vanilla. And vanilla is a large source of income for the people in Madagascar. Now, unfortunately, Madagascar is known for their cyclones. So when that happens, it's wiping out crops. So jobs are being lost because of that. Now, whenever the vanilla cannot be produced because of these cyclones or other natural disasters, Papua New Guinea and Colombia have kind of had their moment to shine during this. It's kind of like, oh, hey, yeah, we make vanilla too. So this is definitely an economically related issue or bonus, depending on how you look at it. For Madagascar, this is definitely hurting their economy, not only during the time of the cyclones, but then also later on once people just continue, once they discover that Colombia and Papua New Guinea have vanilla, their taste is probably going to be different just due to the location. So it could depend on if people like it better or if that's just something that they're used to at that point. So it hurts Madagascar in the long run. But if you look at it from the other two countries' perspective, it's definitely helping them. It's putting them in the spotlight for a bit and maybe keeping them there. So, in looking at consumption, I wanted to take a look at the consumer price. So, most vanilla beans are used in the United States, which probably isn't surprising. 2,000 tons of vanilla beans were used in the United States in 2013. 40% of that actually went straight to our ice cream, which is kind of funny. But due to drought and fungus and disasters like were in Madagascar, the cost is $80 to $120 per kilogram. Now, this also is affected by the fact that the United States makes their vanilla out of synthetic materials. So it's not real vanilla, but it is much cheaper. So it kind of depends on which way the consumers are swaying at the time, because maybe we're in a financial crisis and we just need the synthetic vanilla, but I know it's also a big move right now to do organic and natural, because the synthetic is obviously pumped with lots of chemicals. So, and of course, there's going to be that difference in taste. So, because the synthetic is cheaper, that makes the natural vanilla a lot more expensive because it's not being sold as quickly. So, it just kind of depends on how the world is doing at the time and how the U.S. is doing. So, and also depending, of course, on the condition of the crops themselves. So this is the general price overall for any of the vanilla producing regions. That's the price that we're going to buy it at. So obviously it can vary depending on circumstances, but then finally, here's the bibliography. I have my sources, including my journal article. And I hope you learned something new about the commodity chain of vanilla. I did not want to make this a very stereotypical presentation. I really wanted to dig in and see just new aspects of it, just like the ice cream made out of cow dung and things like that. I didn't want to take the traditional approach. So I hope you enjoyed. Thanks so much.